What if a single wrong turn could change the course of history? What if one bullet could drag the entire world into war? In 1914, this is exactly what happened. At the beginning of the 20th century, the world looked powerful, modern and stable. Empires ruled vast territories. Industry was booming, technology was advancing, faster than ever before. But underneath that surface, tension was building. European powers were competing in silence. Germany was rising rapidly. Britain was protecting its naval dominance. France wanted revenge for past defeats. Russia was expanding its influence. And across Europe, nations were forming alliances. A system where one conflict could drag everyone into war. But no one realized how close that moment really was. June 28, 1914, Sarajevo. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, arrived in the city. A group of young nationalists had planned to assassinate him. Earlier that day, one attempt had already failed. The situation should have ended there. The driver made a wrong turn, and the car stopped right in front of one of the assassins. But fate had other plans. Gavrilo Princip? He stepped forward, raised his weapon, and fired. 2 people were killed in seconds. And in that moment, history changed forever. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia, tension exploded, and war was declared. Because of alliances, the entire continent began to fall into war. Russia mobilized, Germany declared war on Russia. France entered against Germany, Britain joined after. Germany invaded Belgium. Like falling dominoes, the world was pulled into war. At first, many believed it would be a short war. Germany had a plan, a fast invasion and quick victory. But resistance was stronger than expected. The advance slowed and then stopped. The war became stuck. Both sides dug into the ground, creating trenches stretching for hundreds of miles. Life in the trenches was unbearable. Mud, rain, disease, fear, and death surrounded the soldiers. They lived inches away from dying every single day. Beyond the trenches was no man's land filled with barbed wire and machine gun fire. When attacks were ordered, thousands charged forward and most never returned. War had changed forever. Machine guns fired endlessly poison gas, filled the air and burned. Lungs from the inside tanks rolled across battlefields, crushing everything in their path. This was no longer traditional war. This was industrial destruction. At sea, Germany used submarines attacking without warning. Ships sank in minutes. In 1915, the Lusitania was struck. Over 1,000 people died, including Americans. The United States was shocked, but still remained neutral. At first, America wanted peace. President Woodrow Wilson believed the war was not America's responsibility. But neutrality became impossible. American banks supported the Allies' trade increased, and the country was slowly pulled toward war. Then came a secret message to Zimmermann. Telegram Germany proposed an alliance, with Mexico promising to help reclaim territory if the United States entered the war. When the message was exposed, America was outraged. In 1917, the United States entered the war. President Wilson declared that the world must be made safe for democracy. Millions of American soldiers were sent overseas, many for the first time. Their arrival changed the balance. Fresh troops strengthened the Allies. Germany began to weaken food. Shortages spread. Soldiers were exhausted. Civilians were desperate, and unrest grew inside the country. By 1918, it became clear the war could not continue. On November 11, 1918, at 11 in the morning, the guns fell silent. After more than 4 years of destruction, the war was over. But the cost was unimaginable. Millions died. Cities were destroyed. Empires collapsed, and the world changed forever. In the aftermath, leaders created the Treaty of Versailles, forcing Germany to accept blame, pay reparations, and reduce its military. Many believed this would bring peace, but instead it created anger and instability. The war that was meant to end all wars had only set the stage for another. For the United States, World War I marked a turning point. It became a global power, shaping the future of the world. And it all started with a single moment. A wrong turn, a single shot, and a world that would never be the same again. But the story doesn't truly end there, because the world that emerged after the war was not at peace. It was wounded, broken, and quietly preparing for something even greater. The Treaty of Versailles did not bring closure. It brought consequences. Germany was forced into humiliation. Its economy collapsed. Its people suffered. And deep inside the nation, anger began to grow. Not loud, not immediate, but slowly, dangerously. Across Europe, borders had changed, empires had disappeared. New nations were created, but stability never truly returned. Millions of soldiers came home, but they were not the same. They carried memories of trenches, of loss, of endless Yud. Families mourned. Cities tried to rebuild, but the scars remained. And while leaders spoke of peace, the world was already moving toward another conflict. Because history has a way of repeating itself. When lessons are ignored, when anger is left unresolved, when power is abused, and in the years that followed, new leaders would rise, new ideologies would spread, and once again, the world would stand on the edge of war. A second time, even more devastating, even more destructive. And it all connects back to that one moment, that single decision, that wrong turn, that single shot, that changed everything. But even as the world tried to heal, something deeper was unfolding. The balance of power had shifted. Old empires were gone, but new tensions had taken their place. Germany struggled under the weight of reparations. Its currency lost value. People stood in long lines, waiting for food, waiting for hope. And with every passing day, frustration turned into anger. Across Europe, fear spread quietly. Nations began to distrust each other again. Alliances weakened, promises faded, and the idea of lasting peace began to disappear. Meanwhile, the United States was changing. No longer distant, no longer isolated. It had stepped onto the world stage, its power growing, its influence expanding, and its role in global conflicts was just beginning. But even with all this change, the memories of war remained. The trenches, the gas, the endless loss. They were not forgotten. They lived on in the minds of millions, and slowly, the world began to move again towards something no one truly wanted, but no one could stop. Years passed, but the silence after the war was never truly peaceful. It was heavy, uneasy, fragile, and beneath that fragile calm, forces were building once again. Leaders rose to power, promising strength, promising restoration, promising a future free from humiliation. But those promises came with a cost. Across nations, military strength began to grow again. Weapons were rebuilt, armies expanded, and the world began to prepare, without admitting it, for another war. A bigger war, a deadlier war, one that would surpass everything before it. And once again, millions would be pulled into conflict. Lives would be lost, cities destroyed, history rewritten, all because the lessons of the past were never fully learned. And when the next war finally began, it would prove one thing. The First World War was never truly the end. It was only the beginning. And as the years moved forward, the world did not grow calmer. It grew more unstable. The economy across Europe began to struggle. Then came a global collapse.
The Great Depression.
Banks failed. Businesses closed. Millions lost their jobs. And hope became harder to find. In Germany, the situation was even worse. Hyperinflation destroyed savings. Money became worthless. People carried stacks of cash just to buy bread. Families suffered. Pride was shattered. And anger continued to grow, not just at leaders, but at the system itself, at the treaty, at the world, across Europe. Democracy seemed weak, unstable, unable to solve the crisis. And in times like this, people begin to look for something stronger, something decisive, something powerful. And that is when new kinds of leaders begin to rise. In Germany, one man stepped forward, Adolf Hitler. At first, he was just a voice, angry, passionate, promising change. He spoke of restoring pride, of rebuilding the nation, of undoing the humiliation of the past. And people listened because they were desperate, because they were broken, because they wanted hope. Slowly, his influence grew. Crowds gathered, voices followed, and power began to shift. He blamed enemies, both outside and within. He promised strength, unity, and a new future. And step by step, he took control. Germany began to rearm, breaking the rules of the treaty, building its military again, marching forward with confidence, with aggression, and the world watched. Some ignored it, some feared it, but no one stopped it, because once again, history was repeating itself. And then, the world crossed the line. Once again, war began. A second time. But this time, it was even more devastating, even more destructive. Cities burned. Millions died. Entire nations were consumed by conflict. And everything traced back to what came before. Because the First World War was never truly resolved. Its consequences, its anger, its instability carried forward into the future. And when the Second War finally ended, the world stood changed once again. But this time, it remembered, it learned, it rebuilt, and it tried to never repeat the same mistakes again. But history is always watching, always waiting for the next moment, the next decision, the next mistake, because sometimes it only takes a single moment, a wrong turn, a single shot to change everything